Hello and welcome to another episode of Pod Strickland. I'm your host, Shwin, and this episode 427. I am not joined, as always, by my co-host Stacy, but I am joined again by a friend of the pod, one of the hosts, many hosts of the Strickland postgame show, The Run.Down, and most importantly, the co-founder of the Hot Hand Theory. His name is Geoffrey Rasmussen. You know him as at Frank Barrett 119 on Twitter. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy to be back on here. It's been a couple weeks. Our first show is really good. Always excited to talk basketball with you. Appreciative of you for having me on. And yeah, let's do it. I actually haven't. It's been a while. I think the last time I was on any air was when I was with you. So it might be a little rusty. You're gonna have to deal with some rust.
Well, fortunately, we will be talking mostly about gambling. And I'm assuming you were able to knock the rust off this weekend, get some bets in with the football back. So
yeah, I had Jaden Reed 75 yards or better plus 650, and then Kenneth Walker 100 yards or better plus 425. So those were some nice. I like those adjusted totals on DraftKings, or on any site. If you're into gambling, look at those adjusted numbers. Those are sweet.
There you go. All right, we're going to talk about the NBA. But before we do that, do have to make a few announcements. First, being the Strickland has an Instagram, so check that out. That is at the Strickland Atlanta Instagram. We are posting all kinds of new content on there. Strickland also has a YouTube channel where you may be watching this podcast. If you are not done so already, please hit like, subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment. That'd be a huge help to us. The Strickland also has merchandise, which you can find on our website, www.thestrick.land. There's a link that'll take you to the store, and you can find all kinds of cool stuff on there, like t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, coffee mugs, water bottles, you name it, we've got it. The Strickland also has a Patreon, which you can subscribe to. There are a number of different tiers. There's a $6 tier. That gets you access to Pod Strickland, the podcast that I host every Friday with Prez. You also get access to Takes from Obvious Bozos, our newest podcast that's hosted by Andrew Steele, a.k.a. Doug, along with Zach Blatter, and you get access to the Strickland Discord where the conversation never stops. Then further tiers, there's a $9 tier that gets you access to Strickland Roll, my solo pod where I rant about the next even more. You also get access to one for premium articles by Matthew Marino, one of the best in the business, and now you get access to Strictly NFL, which is our newest podcast that is hosted by Konstantin Mechkos that is about the NFL, which is very surprising based on the name. There are further tiers. There's a $15 tier, $30 tier, $50 tier, and a $100 tier. This comes with a variety of additional benefits, like listening to pod recordings, merchandise discounts, and even potentially hosting a podcast alongside yours truly one day, whether you choose to subscribe or not. None of this would be possible without you. And none of this would be possible without Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. BetOnline, the game starts here. Have you ever done that? Have you ever just been like, you know what? I just want to unwind. Let me go hit the slot machines, just relax a bit, just take the edge off here.
I have not. It's actually one of the strangest things about me is, as you know, I played poker professionally, and the first thing 90% of people ask me is like, can you count cards? And it's always so disappointing for them to find out that not only is poker not blackjack, but I don't delve into that stuff at all. Like I'll do it like if I was on a bachelor party trip or something, but if I was on that trip, I would be the same as everybody else. Like people would be like, "Oh, we got the expert with us." I'd be like, "No, dude, I'm just as bad as you guys are gonna be." Yeah, I don't do that stuff at all.
You're not Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah, I'm not at all.
All right. Well, let's talk. Let's do this. Let's go through we're doing Western Conference over-unders. We will maybe if you're lucky, we'll throw you some side bets to throw on there. But let's start from the top here. What is this? Is this the Northwest division here? No, this is the North.
It's the Northwest.
It's the Northwest. All right, let's do this. Let's start with the Nuggets. The Nuggets are at 51.5. The over is -105. The under is -115. Where do you land on this one, Jeff?
I'm gonna go under, and it feels gross because, as you know, as we've had many arguments about, I am Nikola Jokic's not his biggest fan, but I've just always been a believer in him, and I think all good things about him. I do not love the rest of their team at this point, though. Like, they won the championship in 2023, and I think that's saved them a lot. That's given them a lot of grace and a lot of like. I just think we've forgotten a lot of things about this team, and I don't want to discredit their championship. They did beat an 8 seed in the championship, so it's not like it was some, super tough road to a champion. Like, yeah, they caught a couple breaks and everything came together, but you look past Jokic, and Michael Porter Jr. is a very flawed player who, more importantly, has major health concerns that have kind of flown under the radar. It's very easy to imagine him missing time, some sort of injury happening. That can easily happen. Aaron Gordon, good player, was awesome during their title run. He's a very flawed player that I feel like the league is starting to quickly figure out and exploit more and more in these lineups. When you put him with another non-shooter, I don't think he's just this overwhelming positive that he was when they first traded for him in Denver. I think the scouting report is more out on him. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying that I don't think the returns are just going to be overwhelmingly positive. He's also pushing 30. You never know. And then Jamal Murray, look, Jamal Murray just signed that extension. I think Jamal Murray is a really good player. I think Jamal Murray's proven to be an excellent postseason player. But the data is concerning about Jamal Murray. Last season, when Murray played and Jokic didn't play, the Nuggets lost those minutes by almost 15 points per 100 possessions, which is ridiculous. Like, he is.
Does that measure championship pedigree though?
It does not measure want it more and clutchness and all the real important stuff. But for regular season wins, that is relevant. If the team can't do anything when Jokic isn't playing, they can't just ride Jokic alone to regular season. They're gonna crush when Jokic plays. That's a fact. Like, that is probably the most true NBA fact there is. I'm very concerned about the rest of the team though.
Yeah, I'm under on this, and like I'm like honestly a little bit surprised at the juice. Like, I understand the faith in like Nikola Jokic, but the under is just like, I mean, it should be. I don't know how to put this, but like, I almost find it like crazy the vig isn't even more, like, it's not even heavier on the under, because to your point, like, one, they have just bled talent the last couple of years. Like, I understand the Bruce Brown thing. They couldn't offer him what he got, so he walks. They don't really do anything to replace him. They just, for some reason, give Reggie Jackson a 3-year, $50 million contract. Like, I still don't know why they did that, but they were like, yeah, we'll just give you, or whatever it was, 2-year, $10 million contract. He barely is. He's basically unplayable last year, and then they have to salary dump him this year. This year, they decide not to pay up to retain KCP, which should have been telegraphed the moment that idiot GM Calvin Booth went on air prior to free agency and was like, yeah, we think Christian Brown, all the data shows he's a great shooting guard, great net swing. I have no idea what numbers he's looking at, because it's not at all what the data tells you. Their strategy has seemed to be like, we're going to build this young core. The problem with this strategy is the young core is a bunch of guys that they took who are like older draft prospects in the second round, which, sure, young, like older guys are generally more prepared to play from day one. If they're being drafted in the second round, they might just not be very good. And you're also a championship contender. So asking Mike Malone to just be like, hey, we want you to develop this young core, also win us a championship, very hard to do those things. So they've bled talent. Their way to replace them has been this weird strategy of like drafting older guys in the second round and assuming they're going to come through. Murray did not look good in the playoffs at all. He did not look good in the Olympics. He has had a reputation of somebody who comes in and kind of plays himself into shape as well. That all of that concerns me. I also don't love that they just extended him. Like, I totally disagree with this. I reject the idea that they had to do it. I think people are fucking dumb about this and are still living in a past collective bargaining agreement world where the general kind of state of play was extend guys, figure it out later because the cap penalties and all that stuff, restrictions were so much less prohibitive. Not that this necessarily matters to the over under here, but I would have loved to see Jamal Murray have something to play for this year beyond competitive pride. Like, oh, you're earning your money this season. That's what's happening here. Instead, you've extended him, so he doesn't really have any personal there's no financial stakes for him, right? Like that's over. Um, to your point about they suck when Jokic plays or when Jokic doesn't play, sorry. Um, this is something that is just always going to be true with star centers as far as I'm concerned. This is true for the Sixers with Embiid. This is true, obviously, for the Nuggets with Jokic.
I
These
just, I just
centers
want to, I just want to, I just want to cut in for a second. The Sixers won Maxi's minutes without Embiid last year, so suck is relative here.
it's a very big drop off, though.
It is a drop off,
yeah.
but it's not losing by 15 points per
No.
100 when Jamal Murray's on the court.
It's not to the same degree, but my point is more that star centers who have their team's offense run through them, that generally is not something that it's a very unique ecosystem. So yeah, if you can have a great backup center. That backup center cannot replicate what Joel Embiid does. That backup center certainly cannot replicate anything close to what Nikola Jokic does. And that means your team has to function in a totally different way than they do when those players are on the court, which is very, very difficult. And I think it's very different from elite guard to elite center. Centers are just different. All that being said, their backup center situation is a disaster. They have DeAndre Jordan again masquerading as a backup center. It's
they've got Dario Saric.
Yeah, they've got Dario Saric now. Awesome. Like they can do the Aaron Gordon thing again, which I don't mind. I actually think, I mean, that's probably their best option, but you're thinned out on the wing. So it's like you're borrowing minutes. Again, you're borrowing Peter to pay Paul, right? You're borrowing minutes to use Aaron Gordon at center, but now you've got to find minutes for somebody else on the wing who's probably not a good wing. And so I don't know. It all feels very thin. Their backup guard spot isn't great. Like nothing about this team fills me with much confidence. They also added Russ, which I think there's a world where Russ could be okay as a backup guard, but to date, it just feels like every coach, and I get it because he does all of these try hard, competitor, right attitude type shit that it's easy to really buy into. The guy can't shoot, and he's an ill-disciplined defender, and so on and so forth. I don't really know what this team is. I would not bet. I don't think I would bet this because I still just think Jokic is so good, and he's always playing. He always plays. He's durable. But if I was betting this, I'd bet the under, and I'd bet it. I mean, I genuinely cannot understand the logic of betting the over beyond Nikola Jokic is so good.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no I think this guy is gonna pop. Who's gonna pop?
I have one name, and it's just
Michael
a role
Porter
player. It is Peyton Watson. I like Watson. I think he's a good defender. I think he's already proven he's a good defender. I think if he can just find a shot, he'll be an important player for them. And pop again is relative, but I do think that all of a sudden, let's say Watson proves himself as a nice additive player, they're not as reliant on Christian Brown being consistently good because they can just go to these cool big lineups where Watson is in Brown's place. So I think he, weirdly enough, for a young role player, he could be kind of a swing piece for them.
Yeah, I mean, I like I like Peyton Watson. I think he's a good defender. I just think the offense with him is so raw. Like his outside jumper is. This is the other part of this team that I hate. I hate betting this. They don't shoot threes. They don't get to the free throw line. That's just they don't do those things. They do not shoot. They were dead last in 3-point attempt rate last year, and they were one of the worst teams in free throw attempt rate last year. They do neither of those things. And you lost KCP, who whatever. I think he's a declining player. And I think he's declining actually pretty fast to the point that I don't know how much. I don't think that hurts them so much because he was so good. I think it hurts them because their replacements for him are like Jalen Pickett and Julian Strother, who like showed some signs of being a decent player last year, but who Mike Malone clearly doesn't trust. And Mike Malone has some of the Tom Thibodeau boomer gene in him of like
He
young
does.
guys have to like earn it. He does the 5-man hockey sub stuff. So like you're dealing with a lot of weird stuff here. I'm under on this again. I agree with your basic premise, and like I said, I think the math is just not in their favor. If you're not going to shoot threes and you're not going to get at the free throw line, and this is a sport where teams are like we're at the point where we're not going back. Like teams are not going to suddenly start shooting less threes.
Yep.
Teams are not going to deprioritize getting to the free throw line. These are just things that are never going to happen anymore because the math is so strong in their favor. And this is not football where you're now seeing like because teams are so good at defending the pass and not just that they've geared their kind of personnel to defending the pass, that now strength in the running game is coming back. Like
Yep.
this is not that. This is not like this is no like there's no like, oh my God, they're so good at defending the three. We're gonna start taking a bunch of 16-foot jumpers. Like that's
Right.
not gonna happen. You're just gonna be better. You're just gonna have to work harder or get better at hunting threes, at getting into the paint and collapsing defenses. Like that's all that's happening. So
or exploiting the opponent's exploits. Like if they're exploiting you by taking away your threes, whatever they're doing off of Jokic, you have to start getting a bunch of layups. Like that's the answer.
Right.
It's not, we're gonna nickel and dime you to death from 15 foot, like you said.
Yeah.
I just want to add before we move on, the Nuggets being 30th in 3-point rate and 29th in free throw rate and having a top 5 offense is insane. I had to literally look up those numbers to confirm what you said because I was like, wait, weren't they a top 5 offense last year? Jokic is just otherworldly. That's insane.
And it's like, and like you can withstand that for a certain period of time. But like I said, teams are just going to keep pushing the boundaries. So as team push those boundaries, if you're still just like at the bottom, that like what you're asking of Nikola Jokic, he can't keep doing that. He cannot. It's not possible to keep pace. Like maybe he is just that damn good, but like the thing, like he can be as I think it's crazy to expect more of Nikola Jokic than what he's doing already. Unless Jamal Murray is going to take he should just be launching way more threes. Unless that happens, and Michael Porter Jr., which I think is actually more about. I think that's more on Mike Malone than it is on anything else. But like, if these guys aren't going to take those leaps, then it's a big problem. I'm with the under on this. Let's move on. Okay, this is the Oklahoma City Thunder. They are a 56.5. That is minus 105 on the over. What do you think?
I'm so far over on this. I could not be higher on the Thunder. I think they're the best team in the NBA. I think they're the title favorite. I think that they have less competition at the top of the West than the Celtics do at the top of the East. I think you could have runouts for the Celtics in the East where they have to play not all three, but they have to play 3 of like Milwaukee, Philadelphia, and the Knicks in the playoffs. And look, I think the Celtics are in a tier of their own in the East. We talked about that a few weeks ago, but I think the gap is getting smaller, especially with Porzingis being hurt. And I just think that their road is going to be a lot tougher. I think the Thunder head to head, what is a weakness for this team? I said it to XJ on Hot Hand Theory a few weeks ago. We've seen big threes before. We've seen stars be on team. We've seen teams with stars. I don't think we've ever seen a team that could arguably have the best top end talent and the best depth at the same time for a team. This team checks every box. If I have one concern about them, one single concern, it's that I think Jalen Williams, the real Jalen Williams, not the backup center one, I think Jalen Williams' actual impact could actually go down.
I don't think he's going to have the mid-range shooting season he had.
Right. If you look at the indicators last year, there's a ton of outlier level stuff that's like that. You know me, I'm not a big, oh, he didn't do it in the playoffs. That means that's what really happened. But you did see it come back down to earth in the playoffs in a way where it's like, okay, like, so this isn't just this lock thing that he's going to shoot 50% from the mid range. Like, he didn't. And so I think Jalen Williams is going to improve as a basketball player, but I do think that he might not have like the otherworldly fringe all-star impact that he did last year. If Jalen Williams actually makes a leap and maintains his shooting to the point where he's an undeniable all-star, and Chet Holmgren stays healthy and improves like he should, and then they have all these other young guys who should reasonably improve too, just as like basketball players. They have Cason Wallace is like their 11th best player. They just got Caruso and Hartenstein. They can do all these things. There's so much versatility. They have a coach who put the Giddey thing in a box. I don't know what the fuck was going on there. Giddey shouldn't have even been playing for them last year. Put that in a box. I think they felt indebted to, not indebted, but they
I
felt
think
like
that was a front office thing.
Right. It was like they had to play him. Daigneault has, in my opinion, proven to me that he does what the data says he should do. He is flexible. He will diversify the lineups and do what the opponent calls for. Him and Mazzulla are two of the best coaches in the league, and he can match Mazzulla in terms of that diversification, versatility. I think this could be the best team that we've seen. I said it about the Celtics last year. I think this could be better than last year's Celtics. And I said last year's Celtics were the best team that we've seen since the KD Warriors. And it sucks that they didn't get to prove it because like nobody believes it. But whatever. That's the hand they were dealt. They have a chance next year to prove it. I think the Thunder
Some would say it's great. It's fantastic that they don't get to enjoy that.
Yeah, especially fans of number 0. I can't believe he went back to the Boston Garden to recreate the "We Did It" moment. That's man. Yeah, I don't have anything bad to say about this team. I think they're going to win over 60 games. I think this is a slam dunk if they're healthy.
Yeah, I don't get this line. I think it opened at 55.5. I took it then. I took it again at 56. I'll take it again at 56.5. I think it got bet up to 57.5. I know for sure at one point. At least it might be on there. It still might still be there on certain books. Yeah, I don't. They won 57 last year. Even if you want to say, like you said, Jalen Williams won't have the same season, which is very possible. I think they just have too many guys that are more likely to either stay same or flat out improve than they have the other way. They added 2 guys who are clear quality, high quality level role players, star role players, however you want to put it, in Caruso and Hartenstein. I don't have the same faith in them in the playoffs, maybe as you do. Like I very much worry about their overall shot creation aside from SGA. And I think we saw that last year when they played the Mavericks a little bit. I know they'd had some shooting. They had a lot of shooting variance go against them in that series, but shooting variance will go against you. So whatever. I don't want to get into the playoff thing too much, but like, that doesn't really matter in the regular season. They are just going to, they don't have they don't have a bad player. They don't even have like an average player in their top 8 or 9. They have all varying levels of really, really good players. So you have like superstar, then you have like star role players, then you have like, I don't know what the hell you want to call Jalen Williams, like not really a star, like not maybe a superstar, not a superstar. I personally don't view him as a star yet, but like he's very much like ascending into that territory. Cason Wallace, I love. I mean, I can get Chet Holmgren again. Like he's probably more of like a star role player right now, but could very easily, like he's so young, it's probably a matter of time before he becomes a true star. And yeah, I mean the list goes on. Like they just have so much talent, and the biggest thing for them, and this is why I still like why as currently constructed, I'm not like I am less optimistic about them in the playoffs. But the reason why I would still bet on them as the heavy favorite to win the championship and definitely the West is they just have so many assets that they have left to deal. They have so much scope for in-season improvement, both in terms of player development and in terms of like, oh, this thing that we're not good at, we can just go get that right now. We can just go trade for that guy to address that thing right now. They have that ability. And of the contending teams in the league, no other team has that ability. So I love them to. I love this over. I think if we take a look at the like conference seeding, for OKC, over 2.5, by the way, for them is plus 115. I don't know how they don't at least get the 2 seed. For the 1 seed, they are plus 165, heavy favorite. Minnesota's second, plus 380. Nuggets plus 400. I think you take them in basically everything. The only reason to be concerned, like literally the only reason to be concerned, in my opinion, is SGA getting hurt. And and one, you can say that about like every team and their best player. And two, like he's just been like I said about Jokic, SGA's been a very durable player aside from seasons where maybe Sam Presti was motivated to juice the odds in their favor. But like they are not obviously existing in that space anymore. SGA will miraculously probably have the healthiest season of his career. And I'm with you. Like I think this over is fucking hammer it. I can't believe the juice is actually like in your favor here.
What? So just to not throw a wrench, but just we're both hugely positive on this. So I'm not even expressing a certainty here. But
if Chet
what?
Holmgren dies, yes.
No, what do you think? What do you think of a potential slow start to the season because they can't really figure out what their starting lineup is?
I would love for that to happen because then I would keep trying to get there over.
Yeah,
that's no, like I don't.
What do you think their starting lineup's going to be on opening night? What do you think it's going to be?
I think Hartenstein comes off the bench.
What about Caruso?
So I think it will be SGA. It will be SGA, Chet,
Jalen Williams.
Who's the other returning starter from last year?
Dort.
Oh, God, I hate Dort. Dort. And then Caruso, right?
Okay, so you think they'll stay small, and you think they'll?
I think what I think makes the most sense for them is stay small. Hartenstein comes off the bench, and then you can develop Hartenstein and Chet together in minutes against like non-starting groups.
Yeah,
and then as that develops, see how it goes. Get Chet because Chet hasn't played the 4 in the NBA, really, like not at all. So get him comfortable, get him understanding, like because like it's easy. Like yes, the math, like yes, add good players, the skill sets make sense, it should work. But Chet has literally not played the 4. The defensive responsibilities of a 4 are very, very different from the defensive responsibilities of 5, regardless of what scheme you're running. He has to adapt to that. He has to adapt to defending different players as his primary cover. I think you develop that off the bench. And then as that gets better, then I think maybe in the middle of the season or something, then you might see them get to a point where they're like, okay, these guys are now kicking ass together to the point of let's now start them. But I don't think they will just start that way. And I also would suggest that it's possible it becomes something of like a nightly, oh, we're playing the Timberwolves, let's start big. Oh, we're playing the Hawks, let's just go back to Chet at the 5. Like they can do whatever they want. Like this is why I'm so high on this team, is they really just have the ability to match up now against anybody. And look, Hartenstein had a pretty rough playoffs, but like the idea being here is, oh, we're getting killed on the glass. Fine, we can still play big, and we still kind of have that ability. It's not quite 5 out, but it's like 4.5 out with Hartenstein because he does all those things on the perimeter. Like that's the idea of getting him, and they can go fuck themselves for doing that.
That's the value of depth too. Is you could say the same thing about Timberwolves. I don't think the Timberwolves have the Thunder's depth, the OKC's depth, but they do have depth.
Well, it's probably because Gobert's soft.
Well, that's kind of where I was going. Is there are certain matchups that clearly are issues for Gobert. I talked about this the other day. I think Gobert stuff is just ridiculous. But there are, he does hurt your offense more in some matchups than he will in others. And when that time arises, it's pretty nice to be like, oh, okay, well, we're going to limit Gobert's minutes and we just have Naz Reid and Karl Anthony Towns, and so, yeah, the Thunder, if there was any concern about Isaiah Hartenstein in the postseason, yeah, it's pretty nice to be like, oh, we can just go small. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, it's pretty nice for them to just be like, okay, Isaiah, like, you're kind of struggling in this matchup. We're just going to go small.
Yeah. But yeah, I get, to me, it's like the, remember when the Heat started like 10-9 or whatever when they got LeBron and Bosh? Yeah. And it was like, oh, what's wrong with them? And what did they end up finishing with? Like 58 wins or something, right? Like it was something ridiculous. So like, I'm telling you, if the Thunder start like 10-9, I would not be panicking at all. I wouldn't be like, oh, what can I cash out my fucking ticket for here? Like I would be doubling down. I would be doubling down because you'll get better odds. You probably get a better win total too.
Who doesn't remember that Rudy Gay game winner against the Heat? That was all-time moment.
This team is broken. All right. Now we're getting into some real quality teams here. The Utah Jazz, 29.5. The over on this is plus 100. I'm taking the under all day. They don't want to win, so that's it.
They shouldn't want to win either.
Yeah, they shouldn't want to win. They don't want to win. They paid Markkanen, so I'm sure part of that was like, we're going to pay you. You don't get to complain this season about us not trying to win, but we promise after the season we will try to win, which I do think is the plan. They're not trying to win. They don't want to win. They have way too many guys in this team that still need to be traded. I'm sure. I hate teams like that, especially teams that don't want to win. It's like, I can see the vibes internally not being great, not because like anybody's like an asshole or anything like that, or there's some drama. It's more just like, a guy like Jordan Clarkson sitting there looking around the locker room and he's like, all right, so I'm getting traded. Like, when am I getting traded? There are guys in this team that know that they're not there because they're a key part of the team. They're there because they haven't found a trade yet to move them. And because of that, they will play, and it will be weird because players that are actually important to the Jazz's future will get reduced minutes initially. Whatever. I don't even know this warrants like an in-depth discussion. I'm just in on the under on this. I probably wouldn't bet this because there's a world where like, because they have Lowry, they're good enough where they win like 31, 32 games, even with Ainge doing all kinds of bullshit to
I have a weird take about Lowry though. I think what makes Lowry special is the pure additiveness of his skills. I don't think he's like a number like I would rather have Lowry on my team than Julius Randle. I'm sure that's going to make Knicks fans really happy to hear. But if I was trying to win the most games possible with a bad team, I would much rather have Julius Randle on my team.
I totally agree with that. My point is like, even understanding that, if you have Lowry and if you told me like Lowry played 80 games, I'd be like, okay, they're going over. But we know Lowry's not going to play 80 games. He's going to play he's going to be healthy for like 70, but actually play like 55. Like, that's what's going to happen. So for that reason, I'm going to take the under. They still have this weird John Collins thing going on. I don't understand their front court. I actually don't. For all the good stuff Danny Ainge has done, that John Collins trade was so fucking stupid.
It's stupid for a number of reasons, but now look at their roster. They have Walker Kessler, they have Taylor Hendricks, they have Cody Williams.
Who, by the way, they really still like Walker Kessler. They totally still like him.
I just don't get it. I don't understand. I don't understand why they wouldn't want these guys to be playing as much as possible.
He's a hoarder, man. Danny Ainge is a hoarder, and Brad Stevens, unfortunately, has showed him what a real GM does with assets.
I'm excited to see Collier play. Like, I'm excited for them to get to what they'll actually be. Relatively excited. Who's excited to watch the Jazz when you're not a Jazz fan? But like, I think they'll actually be a fun team to watch when Keontae George is the main. He's getting him and Collier are getting the reps on the perimeter. When Taylor Hendricks is finally being allowed to play consistent minutes and go through those lumps that he needs to go through. Cody Williams is an exciting young player. Like, I'm not saying, oh, if you're a Jazz fan, this is a waste of a season, but it kind of is a waste until your analysis is spot on. It's so funny that you said that. That's exactly what I was thinking. It's like, I was looking through their roster. I'm like, okay, Sexton, Clarkson, Collins.
Why is Colin Sexton still on this fucking team?
Yeah, these guys all need to go.
Like I think Sexton's actually developed into a nice player. But like, why he does nothing for this team? He's clearly not their point guard of the future. They clearly don't view him as a point guard of the future or as a important piece of their future. He's got a good contract. I'm 1,000% sure there is some fucking team out there that would be like, sure, yeah, we'll give you like a future first that's like top 5 protected or something for Colin Sexton. And they won't do it because Danny Ainge is like, but look at his numbers and look at this. And like, you need to give us 3 firsts. And it's like, nobody's giving you 3 fucking firsts for Colin Sexton, dude. You know why? Because everybody knows you don't want him and that he's not part of your future. Fuck Danny Ainge. I'm taking
And
the
if he was worth 3 firsts, they would want him.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
It wouldn't be like, oh, we're just trying to trade him. It would be like, oh, this guy's worth 3 firsts. Maybe we'll hold on to him. We know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm under with you. I'm with you on under. Let's try to find a team that maybe we disagree on.
Yeah. The Blazers, 22.5. The over on this is plus 100. This team sucks. They make no sense. I'm going under. And they're in a brutal conference. So, yeah.
Yep.
I'm under.
Under as well. I just want to say I loved the Donovan Clingan minutes in the preseason. He was super exciting to watch. I sort of feel bad for DeAndre Ayton, as bad as one can feel for DeAndre Ayton, who's making way more money than he deserves to. But like, he went to Portland. He tried on a shitty team, which he was accused of not doing in Phoenix.
Well, he didn't do in Phoenix, but he was happy in Portland because they were like, yeah, dude, you can average 20 here.
Yeah.
Like, this is awesome. I'm trying.
But he was also like, I don't know how to explain. It was just like, it seemed like he'd find it was like, it's like what Enes Kanter went through. You remember that Enes Kanter, like he was on like 4 different teams, and every single team he was on, he thought like, finally, I found someone who's ready to embrace me. He would go to war for them, and then they would just cast him aside, you know?
Yeah,
like,
and then eventually the nerds in the front office were like, listen,
yeah.
this guy fucking sucks.
He would just always find a way to like talk shit to the team he was on before. Like, oh, you guys are the traitors. This new one knows about loyalty. So yeah, I mean, I just feel bad for Aiden because it's not gonna be long before, because Klingon's awesome. He's gonna be so good. I have hot takes about the NBA draft. I've talked to you about it on the side. I don't get the people who cover the NBA draft like professionally or like on Twitter. I feel like the process is so fucked up, and I don't understand how a guy like Klingon in any universe could go behind a guy like Alex Sarr. I need someone to like sit down and explain it to me like I'm 3, because it's like, okay, neither of these guys can really shoot. Klingon has already shown more propensity to like want to shoot threes than Sarr has. And then, okay, so they can't shoot. What can they be? And it's like, oh, well, Sarr is like this 4-5 tweener who, like, if he could figure out how to play basketball, he'd be really good. And it's like, okay. And it's like, yeah, Klingon's this beast center who is going to be one of the best defenders in the league, probably. I just don't get it.
Have you considered if Alex Sarr does learn how to play basketball?
He could. Yeah.
Yeah.
The ceiling's there. You just got to break down the film. Got to look at that footwork, you know?
Yeah. Look, I don't get this. Like, I like the Klingon pick because they clearly came out of the season being like, okay, yeah, DeAndre and cool, not the guy long term. We don't care that he's here. We're taking a guy that we think is a long term 5. So I'm fine with just kind of being like, you can't if you view DeAndre Ayton's acquisition at some point as a sunk cost, you shouldn't let that prevent you from taking somebody who you view as an actual quality solution long term at that position. So I'm fine with that draft pick, but the long term doesn't matter as far as regular season wins losses in 2024-25.
Yeah.
Their roster has too many centers, and it has way too many guards and none of these people have complementary skill sets. Like Anthony Simons and Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson, like, yeah, maybe they can all work together offensively if Scoot Henderson is not the worst player in the NBA next year, but like they're going to be terrible on defense. And I don't know if Chauncey Billups is a good coach. I don't know if he's a bad coach. I don't know anything about him because I don't know how to evaluate him. I don't know how to evaluate this roster. They don't have like Jeremy Grant is their number 1 guy and he shouldn't even be on this fucking team. Like, I'm just so out on them until they make a move. Like, why is Anthony Simons on this team if, like, either Anthony Simons is your lead guard and you're going to start building a team that mitigates his weaknesses and accentuates his strengths in a way that helps you also develop a player like Shaedon Sharpe or a player like Donovan Clingan, or you move on from him and embrace the suck and totally bottom out. And that's fine. But like fucking do something. I fucking hate this team. I hate this roster. I think they did the Damian Lillard trade, which was a good trade, and then they just decided not to do anything after that of any consequence and became gigantic cowards. I'm
I
under
will
on
say
this.
I liked the Avdia pickup, the
Yeah,
trade. He's a good
I do
player.
like that. I like
Um,
that. I like that pickup, but I also view him as a guy where I'm like, I wish you were on a good team.
Yeah. They have a number of guys, and this is gonna be a weird sort of
They have a lot of
diversion
guys who would
because
be good on good teams.
right. And they also have a number of guys who it's like, okay, are we going to ask you to try to become the best version of yourself, or are we going to ask you to try to become the best version of what we need on this team? And that's a really, like you just brought up Chauncey Billups, another great point by you. That's a really tough thing for a coach to decide. Like, so you draft Scoot Henderson. They took him number 3 overall, right? They took him number 3. You draft guy number 3 overall. He was in Wemby conversations, like not actually, but like people are like, oh, 1A, 1B, like this was supposed to be like a super special, talented player. You draft him number 3 overall. I have to imagine when you draft a guy like that, you're hoping he becomes the best version of himself. But then as a coach, there's self-preservation on the line here. You're trying to keep your job. You're trying to win the most games possible. What part of you is like, okay, this is Simon's team. Shaden Sharp's a better offensive player than you. Denny Advia is a better offensive player than you. Scoot, we need you to focus on attacking off the catch, shooting off the catch, and defense. Get really good at those things. You're not going to have the ball in your hands a lot. Can you get really good at these more additive skill sets? How do you do that? How do you balance those things? That's just such an impossible position to be in for a team like this. I can't even imagine it.
Yeah, this team is stupid. It's poorly constructed, and again, they're in a brutal conference in the West that does not help their cause. They're also in a brutal division, so good luck to them. Maybe they can split the season series against the Jazz. All right, last team in the division. This is crazy. I actually did not realize all three of these teams were in the division. They were tied for the best record in the West effectively last year. Timberwolves, 52.5. The over on this is minus 105. I would not touch this. I kind of like the under.
I wouldn't touch it either, but I think I'm gonna go over. I think I like the over. Look, Edwards. Edwards has gotten to the point where he's overrated by the masses, and while that's, in my opinion, true, what that means is he can actually get better. Like he could get better from last season and it'll catch up to how he's actually rated. He's still so young. He still can improve his shot mapping, his efficiency from some areas, his defense, his defensive consistency, can improve. I like their depth. I like specifically the depth they have around Gobert that allows them to diversify their lineup construction and have versatility. I love that. I really liked the Rob Dillingham pick. I think that is someone that can help, that's going to come in and help them right away. I loved what I saw from him in Summer League? Holy shit. I loved what I saw from him in Summer League. I think he is just like an advanced version of one of those sixth men that people talk about. Yeah, I like almost everything about their team, honestly, and I think they're going to be tough night in and night out. I think they're well coached. I think Chris Finch is a really, really good coach. Yeah, I really like Minnesota.
I respect the Rob Dillingham pick. I respect taking the swing. I think he's going to be terrible this year. I think he's going to be a massive negative player for them. He looked like a fucking joke on defense during Summer League. I don't know how that. He's just going to be bad on defense. He is like tiny. He's super, super tiny. He is an easy target. Even if he wants to compete on defense, every like 95% of NBA players will be able to put him in the fucking, like, just body him absolutely body him on the way to the rim. Like, he has no ability to hold up in any. He can't hold up on the perimeter. He definitely can't hold up inside. If you make him the low man, have fun. You're not going to get any real contest there. Like, he to me is going to be a huge negative for them defensively and offensively. Like, I love the skill set. I love the idea of what you're betting on in the future. There's a chance that can be really special, and it needs to be because his defense is forever going to be shit. But like, I think as much as I liked what I saw offensively in the summer league, I still think he's a guy who's going to have real big swings in terms of how he performs night to night, because I think it's going to take him time to figure out how to finish inside. He's a small dude, and you saw that even in summer league a bit, where like he'd drive inside, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, these are NBA athletes, not fucking Valparaiso State. Like, I'm playing like an actual NBA big here. Like, so I think that's going to be an issue for them. I think that I don't know how to word this because I don't want to say anything that comes across poorly here, but like, I think Anthony Edwards is awesome. I agree with you that he's overrated. And my main concern about him is not that he's overrated. It's that I don't think he thinks he's over. Like, I don't think he knows that he's bad at certain things. Like, I don't think he understands that he's a bad decision maker. I don't think he understands he is a bad distributor of the ball right now. I don't think he understands that his shot distribution, given his athletic gifts and his skill set, is atrocious. Like, I don't think he understands those things. And that does not worry me long term. I want to be very, it does not worry me long term, because a lot of young players come into the league and it takes them a little while and a little humbling to understand what they need to get better at. And then it's like, oh, okay, I do need to get better at these things. And then they make that leap. I think he's very much still in that time frame. He's he's entering his 5th season in the NBA, if I'm not mistaken. Like,
Yep.
and he's 22 right now. He's going to be turning 23 this season. He's incredibly young. So I'm not worried about that long term. I am worried about that short term.
And for just for some data to back up what Shwin's saying, he had the highest offensive impact of his career last season, but his rate of shots per 75 at the rim and from three both went down. His rate from the mid-range was by far a career high.
That Tatum path.
Yeah, it is a Tatum path. He's not assisted ever from any range. So he's like, it's weird because he doesn't have the reputation of like a Helio guy. And I think that's because he's not the passer that other Helio guys are, but he very much operates.
People very, like,
yeah. And people like him. He does have that, like, that dog in him. He's very likable. He's very good. Like, this is the weird thing about talking about guys you think are overrated, is like, they can still be good. I think Kobe Bryant's overrated, but that doesn't mean he's not top 10 player of all time, like, so, I mean, Edwards is really good, and I just think that there are areas to get better. I empathize with Shwin's point, though, that like, if he doesn't think he needs to get better in these areas, that's concerning for next season's outlook.
Well, I just like watching him play at the Olympics, and I understand it's a different environment and whatever, but like, it is a different environment, and he was playing with like Stephen Curry and LeBron James and Kevin Durant, and you'd watch him on the floor and you're like, do you think you're the best player on the floor right now? Like, is that what we're doing here? And that concerns me, because like, not because he is the best player offensively anyway for the Timberwolves by far. Like, he is the guy that drives the offense, but he needs to develop other areas of his game and clean up his decision making to be what he thinks he is right now. And that, I think, will come, but I don't think it comes this season. And then
there's a version of him that eclipses 60% true shooting just by improving where he shoots from.
Oh, like, it will happen. And if it doesn't, it's because he is not serious about not necessarily perfecting, but maximizing his impact and output. And he wants to look like Kobe probably. But like that, so that concerns me. Gobert had a very nice bounce back season after a rough initial season in Minnesota. Gobert is also, he is 32 years old. Now, look, this is a guy who's maniacal about staying in shape. He is durable throughout his career. Like, so I'm not saying he's going to fall off a cliff. I think it's reasonable to at least give some credence to a slight decline on his part defensively. Even if not, I think the double big thing that worked for them so well last year, we see this all the time. Now teams have seen this for a full year where you were really effective at it. They'll have a better idea of how to attack it. And also, there'll be more teams that brought in personnel specifically to, okay, well, now when we play the Timberwolves, we can go to, like, OKC is the perfect example of this. Oh, now when we play the Timberwolves, if they're just destroying us on the glass, we have an option to play big and give us more credibility and match up better against them. Like, you have that. And dude, Conley, like he's fucking what, 36, 37? Like, I don't know. Like, there's a chance he gets worse. I don't know. I'm not super. I felt really good about them last year. Like, I felt really good about their over, even though the year before was a kind of a clusterfuck. And I was another over the year before, like during the clusterfuck year, too. But like, I felt really good about them last year. I just, something about this team feels iffy. I don't love it. And also, like, this is just a total intangible, like, my feeling, gut instinct thing. Naz Reid is effectively playing for a contract extension, potentially, this upcoming season. That worries me because he's coming off the bench. And like, they all even talked about this publicly last year, where they were like multiple guys in their team talked about never been in a team like this where everybody's kind of so focused on the same goal, everybody's working towards the same thing. All these guys were like locked in on contracts that didn't matter, or not necessarily not matter, but like they weren't thinking about anything else but like this season, whatever. I think you're adding some different incentives here now. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is also a player who will be playing for a contract. He was a key reserve for them. Jaden McDaniels is now the max contract kicks in. I wonder if there's not a max contract, sorry, but a pretty big extension, 5 years, 135, that kicks in this season. I wonder if he starts feeling like, all right, man, I gotta really start showing something offensively to show everybody like I'm worth this money. I don't know. I don't feel as good about the vibes this year with them. And yeah, I think they fall off a little bit. I'm not saying they're gonna be bad or they're gonna, be in the fucking plane or something. I think they'll still be really good. I still think they win 50 plus, but I would bet it's. I mean, I would bet it's closer to 50 than 55. That's for sure. So,
yeah, fair enough. I will say about Dillingham, I think that I agree with you. He's probably never going to be a positive defensively. He's probably going to be rough his rookie season.
He also he will never even be good in the way of like a Jalen Brunson where he can like sacrifice his body to take charges, because if he takes charges, he is going to die.
Yeah. I do want to say I don't see him as like a Cam Thomas, Bones Highland type though. No. He does seem like he can be more interactive with Edwards, and I think that he could play off Edwards, but he could also carry some of the burden with Edwards in a way that could help Edwards make the kind of leap we're talking about. And I think he could do that pretty close to right away.
Yeah, I'm less certain of him being able to do that right away just because he wasn't really a point guard in college. And so I just think there's going to be an adjustment time for him to like, because what they're doing, like what they seem to be doing or what they said they're going to be doing is like, he's the backup point guard, which basically means like at some point he'll be the point guard. So they're grooming him to be the point guard. He's not really done that before in his career, to my understanding. So I can see that being a little bit of an adjustment. I agree with you. My issues with him are not like, I don't think his struggles are he has to rewire his brain from like Cam Thomas ISO mid-range jumper syndrome. But like I just think he has to figure out how to balance the off-ball, on-ball skill sets and be that player. So that's why I'm like more down on his immediate offensive impact. We'll see what he does long-term offensively. I get the vision. I respect it. I love them taking that swing. I just don't love it for this year. That's all. All right. Next team. JJ Redick's squad, the Los Angeles Lakers, 43.5. minus 105 on the over here. I like the under, and I'm going to boil it down to one very, very simple thing. I do not think LeBron and Anthony Davis will be as healthy as they were last year. And they won, 47 games last year? Is that what they did? Were they
That
47 games?
sounds right.
I think they were
40.
47.
I have the standings up. Yeah, they won 47 games. They were
Yeah.
the 7th seed.
I don't think they will be as healthy this past season or this year as they were last year. LeBron James is amazing. He continues to withstand Father Time. I'm not going to bet on a decline because it just has not happened to the degree that it just hasn't happened to the degree that you would expect by this point. But like, okay, but I will bet on him not playing as many games. Anthony Davis, definitely not betting on a decline. Again, not going to bet on him playing as many games. I'm not sure JJ Redick is a good coach, so I don't know he's a bad coach. I don't know anything about him. He says some great things on his podcast. I think like saying stuff on a podcast is not the same thing as coaching. And getting buy-in and getting guys to do what you want them to do. You know, they always have these moving parts. I want to be very clear. I'm not betting this line. So I would take the under just because of this. I think the conference is also stronger, and they didn't do anything, right? They didn't add anybody. Oh, they added Bronny James Jr., which is huge.
I mean that's an easy one. They drafted Dalton Dalton Connect, who I think could be
I like him.
Whatever, he could be fun.
I like his type of player in theory on this roster with LeBron. Like that's
right.
a very I get that. But like they did not add any known quantity in free agency or via trade. I don't know. It just feels like when you run things back, I think you always risk coming back to the pack and falling off.
For sure.
And especially for a team like them where your two key guys are on the wrong side of 30, no matter how great LeBron and AD are, it's just you're asking, again, so much of those two guys to do stuff. I do think there's probably some meat on the bone with playing better lineups from the jump, which was not something that Darvin Ham did last season. He did a lot of weird shit for the first 3 months for whatever reason.
Yep.
But there's also just some fundamental flaws with this team that, does it make sense to start D'Lo and Reeves with Anthony Davis and LeBron James? Sure. Yeah, I get it. There's also the fact that they're one of the worst defensive backcourts in the league. If you do that, it's a very, very big problem. And then there's been some reporting that we're going to get another season of the initial waffling over Anthony Davis's position where he doesn't want to be a 5. He wants to be the 4. And
they don't even have another center.
Yeah. Do we have to do this? At some point, I just need the Lakers need to hire one guy on this coaching staff whose entire purpose is just to be there and be like, Anthony, you are not a power forward. You're not a power forward. And that's it. That's the only purpose they have on the entire staff is just to drill into Anthony Davis's head that he's not a fucking power forward and you're never going to be a power forward again.
And be like, dude, if you want to be a power forward, start shooting like you did in the 2020 playoffs. Remember that? Remember when he God moded shot shooting in the 2020 playoffs and then he forgot for 4 years?
Except when he plays the Knicks. I feel like he's always good in the mid-range against us.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
But
yeah. It's just the Anthony, it's, I don't know. There's all kinds of weird stuff there. Again, I wouldn't really touch this because it's the Lakers. So this could be a thing. You're always this. The other thing is I already know how the season's going to play out because they're going to be kind of up and down. And then for the month before the fucking trade deadline, we're going to get all kinds of LeBron doing LeBron things on social media and then post-game press conferences where we don't have enough and he's hinting at this kind of shit. And then they do something at the trade deadline and then he's happy again, or not even, he doesn't even need to be happy. It's over. So he just has to get the fuck on with it. And then they'll go on a little bit of a run after the trade deadline. And it's this is why I just can't be invested. I cannot be invested in the Lakers financially for a full season. I would bet the under, but I'm going to stay away and I'm happy to stay away and watch the Lake show from afar.
Yeah, I agree with you about you're about staying away from him and leaning towards the under, but just like not really feeling. I just want to say one thing about LeBron that I don't think enough people are considering or factoring in. So LeBron last season had the highest true shooting percentage of his career since he left Miami, which is insane. Like he hadn't even I think he had just turned 30 he was turning 30 the year he left Miami. So he was 29 when he left Miami. He's played almost 10 seasons, and yeah, this was the highest true shooting percentage of his career. But he shot 41% from three. Like, even if he was a normal age, even if he was 35 or 32, I would be like, he's not going to do that again. If he's not just going to shoot 41% from three again. And I know we all get in trouble discounting LeBron. Like, that was just a very outlier level positive variance 3-point shooting season. That's going to come down to earth a little bit. So even if he maintains his I'm a superhuman alien freak who aging doesn't play any role with.
He's the xenomorph.
Dude, he was like 7th in the NBA in EPM last season at 39. Like he just can't do that. He can't play 70 plus games and have that level of impact again. I don't like their depth at all. I think Anthony Davis could get hurt. I think
Christian Wood is back and he's motivated.
I think I'm on the under, but I'm not going to touch it. And look, I'm going to say this is an under, but I'm going to hold on. I'm going to say also that like in the percentage of outcomes where they go over, I think there's a world where this team is like a fringe title contender. If all the, like if LeBron and AD just are healthy and play well again, I think they're always in the discussion because of their top end talent. If JJ Redick coaches them to the right spots, if certain other pieces hit, I think their starting lineups can be good when it's healthy. So yeah, I don't know. This is just, let's just appreciate LeBron while we still can and move on when he finally can't do it anymore.
I will also say I really am sick and tired of people being like, why are the Lakers getting so many national TV games? Like, let's stop pretending like we're all not interested in watching the Lakers. Everybody that watches the NBA cares about the Lakers, whether you hate or love them. And they have LeBron James. It's pretty fucking simple. Shut the fuck up. Stop crying about it.
Yeah, it's really silly. Why are the Warriors getting like?
why
people want to watch Steph Curry? Oh, what a shocker!
Yeah. All right. Kings 46.5. The over on this is plus 100. I hate just like going with the odds as much as I've done here. I like the under here. Like the DeRozan thing does nothing for me. It actually clouds things for me a little bit. I get that they needed, and I look, DeRozan's a guy who's going to play. He's going to play a lot of games and he's going to play a lot of minutes. And I mean this as a compliment. Like he's been extremely durable. I just don't love his skill set as a compliment next to De'Aaron Fox or Sabonis. And the other part of it that is a little weird to me is this is a team that's ethos has been built so heavily on pushing tempo and all kinds of stuff. And DeRozan is very much a smooth half-court type operator. Don't love that fit. The defensive issues will stay the defensive issues. They're putting a lot on Keegan Murray's plate now. He's like the starting 4, I guess, without Harrison Barnes there. I don't fully know what this rotation looks like. I don't fully know what this starting lineup looks like. I don't know how many good defenders are on this team. Maybe like 2. I don't know. I would love to love this Kings team, but I'm losing the love. And I'm under on them. This is about as down as I've been on the Kings since they got Mike Brown there.
Who are the good defenders? Keegan Murray and
Keon Ellis.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you say they're putting a lot on Keegan Murray's plate. I think they're also putting a lot on Keon Ellis's plate because he was a really nice bench piece last year. I loved that he played summer league. I thought that was really cool.
Well, did you hear that he actually blocked Brunson a couple of times in his own mind?
Oh, did he? Yeah, I saw that. I saw that clip on Twitter. Whatever. I think that when you try to look, you called Hartenstein earlier, 4.5 out. I think Sabonis operates the same way. I think Sabonis is actually slightly more willing to even shoot the wide open three than Hardenstein is from the top of the key. But also his dribble handoffs, that's an offense. He is almost the primary function of the offense. And if you try to sag off him because you're trying to protect the rim and you don't respect him as a shooter, he's just going to dribble into a handoff and that guy's going to get a pull up three or he's going to get a head of steam to the basket. Like he almost is a spacer in and of himself. When you add DeRozan to this, who isn't much of a spacer, even though he should be because he's a good shooter, you need all the other guys to operate as functional spacers. And with Herter or with Malik Monk at shooting guard, that is the case. When Keon Ellis is the shooting guard last season, he shot the lights out from three. I think that is the case. And I think the Kings are betting that he's going to maintain that level of spacing. All I'll say is that it's a different beast going from the bench to full-time starter who's covering the opposing player's best guard 100% of the time. And you also have to maintain elite to good shooting. It's just a tougher ask for a young guy, and I'm interested to see if Keon Ellis is up to the challenge.
Yeah, with you. Did you say? Were you under on this too, or what did you say?
I'm on the fence because I think I'm going to go under too, but I think they're going to be right around that win margin.
Like that's this is probably not one I take, but like I'm not even sure I'm totally on the fence here. Like I could see 46. I could see that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, are they like what world? Like I don't know. For them to get 47 wins feels like a lot. And I know
I will say if you were going to put DeRozan on a contender and try to make it work, I'm not sure you could do much better than the Kings.
Probably not. Yeah.
Just because I don't think he's going to hurt as much as he might with the spacing and stuff as much as he might hurt other teams.
Yeah, he just hurts them on defense. So, and it's like their defense was already bad. It's going to be worse somehow. I don't know. I'm a little flabbergasted by this team. All right. Clippers, 40.5 minus 105 on the over. I like the over here. I know that it's basically a bet on Kawhi being healthy for enough games. I don't know why. Like, I just kind of I like their moves. Like, I know that losing Paul George sucks, obviously, for a variety of reasons. But like, I kind of like Derek Jones Jr. I don't know. This is the best way I can put it. I feel like they built a roster that is very much the type of island of misfit toys type of roster that Ty Lue can get a lot out of in the regular season. And that's it. Like, that's it. That's my logic. Like, I just kind of like the little bit of depth pieces they have brought in terms of Derek Jones Jr. Chris Dunn is an interesting little chess piece that they can use defensively to give them more integrity at the point of attack. They brought in somebody else too. Who was it?
Batum?
Yeah, and I love them bringing back Batum. Batum's still a good player, and he clearly wanted to be back. I think it's hilarious that he was like, "No, I'm leaving Philly. I'm good. You guys."
Yeah, that's bad for Philly too. Yeah. They're gonna regret that. I think
He must. That's so funny. He was probably like, "Oh, Paul George is coming here. I'm out.
Yeah,
great. Yeah, get me the fuck out of here." Yeah, I think I like them bringing back Batum. I just like these little pieces, and I know Harden's been declining. I've thought he's, I was saying he was declining during his last year or when he got to Brooklyn. I thought, okay, yeah, he was really good that year, and then the next year it was like, oh, it's his hamstring. I'm like, he's just old. Like, he's just probably getting worse because that's how it works, and it's not a guy who was exactly locked into his nutrition in the off season. So yeah, I don't know. I just like this roster. I think they've got a lot of interesting pieces. When Kawhi is healthy, to me, he's still very, very much a top, like top 5 type player. James Harden, while declining, is still a functional regular season offensive hub as far as being your primary playmaker. And he plays games, man. Whatever you want to say, James Harden, the man plays fucking games. And they lost Russ. which I think was a big thing for them because Ty Lue, I always felt like Ty Lue felt obligated to play him in moments for weird reasons, and not having that obligation will be good for them. So I will take the over here. I know the conference has got better. I know the losing Paul George is a big deal, which is reflected in the win total number here. But I like the little additions they brought in, and I feel good about that over.
Yeah, I'm with you on the over. Don't forget about that great battle for third string point guard between Kevin Porter Jr. and Bones Highland.
Just two real
Now,
good team first guys.
yeah, I like what you said about the island of misfit toys for Ty Lue. I do think it's worth acknowledging that there is blow up potential here. There is Harden demanding a trade in
Yeah.
the middle of the season.
Well,
Kawhi
they paid him though. They paid him, so he should be good this year.
yeah, it's never stopped Harden before. Who knows what he'll wake up and decide. I think that Kawhi could get hurt again. I mean, he was super healthy last season. And the thing is George was just better than Kawhi last season. There's all the indicators point to that. So that's going to be kind of a big loss. They're not really replacing him with anything. The only thing they're really going to be able to replace him with is more Kawhi, more Harden, which as they get up there in age only increases their injury potential. As you mentioned, Harden's declining. I don't know if that's going to get any better. Like
It's
he's
not going
just
to get better. I wonder if it just kind of stays the same. Is probably my bet.
It's totally fine. But yeah, they've got plenty of playable players. Zubats is good. I'm not as high on Derek Jones. I'm worried about the shooting in their starting lineup. Like if Terrence Mann and Derek Jones Jr. and Zubats are all off ball when Harden's doing his thing, that's tough. Like even if Derek Jones Jr. is able to maintain what he did in the playoffs last season, I'm a little skeptical, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they put it together. But I just think that 40.5, I like them winning more games because I think Kawhi is really good, and I think Ty Lue's a really good coach. I think he'll just eke out more wins.
Yeah. That's where I'm at with the two. This is mostly a bet on Ty Lue. All right. The Suns, 47.5 over under. The over is plus 100. What do you think?
I'm under. I thought I was going to be stronger on the under, honestly. I'm kind of second guessing it, thinking about their roster more. I'm still on the under. I do like their full rotation, though. Like, even though I never was a huge fan of the Beal acquisition, I think he's just too diminishing with Booker and Durant. I think that all of a sudden, I think part of the reason I wasn't huge on it is because I questioned their ability to fill out the roster around those three guys. But all of a sudden, they've kind of found a way to have a lot of playable guys who I trust on the court. Like, I know we're not super excited about any of these guys really, but all right, first of all, Nurkic was really good last year. Nobody's talked about that. Nurkic was like more important than Beal was last season if Nurkic is healthy.
He was awesome for them last year.
It was awesome for them. So, a
lineup 76 games. He hasn't played over 70 games since 2018-19. That was the last time he played over 70 games in a season.
Yeah, and just his rebounding, he's starting to space a little bit more. So that helps, with as much as Booker and Beal and Durant all like to operate from the mid-range. If you have Grayson Allen and Yusuf Nurkic as your shooting guard and your center, that's like pretty close to as good as you can do, paying as much money as you're paying to Booker, Beal, and Durant. And then off the bench, Tyus Jones, Royce O'Neal, Mason Plumlee, Monty Morris, Nas Little, Josh Okogie. None of these guys are like blowing you out of the water, but you're fine with them on the court if one or two of Booker, Durant, and Beal are on the court. So like, yeah, I'm under because there's just something off about this team. But when I first saw 47.5, I was like, oh boy, I'm going to really love the under. But now just like thinking about this team more, I don't know. Durant's still really good, even with his age. He doesn't really get hurt too much anymore. So yeah, Booker's a star. Booker's a star of a star. And like, here's the thing about Booker. That was an encouraging as fuck Olympics performance, because there was that guy who tweeted, "Oh, who's going to stop this USA team?" And then another guy tweeted, "All right, well, who's doing the dirty work? Who's doing the additive things?" And Booker was like, "I'll do it." And then he showed up to the Olympics and actually did it. And that's so huge. A guy who, like, we talk all the time in cliches and intangibles about, like, oh, this guy just knows what it takes to win. That is someone who understood what it took to win for the Olympics. And I think I would argue that is instrumental as guys like Anthony Davis and LeBron and Steph were to that Olympic title. I'm not sure they win without Devin Booker doing what he did and doing the dirty work and playing the defense and embracing just shooting off the catch and attacking closeouts. I'm not saying he's going to go to being this like purely additive piece in Phoenix. I think he likes being the guy. But when you have Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant on your team, you have to cede some of it to those guys. You just do. And if Booker is the type of player who recognizes, okay, when Beal and Durant are getting theirs, I have to find ways to help the team that doesn't involve the ball in my hands. He clearly is willing to recognize that. I think that's huge for their overall ceiling.
Yeah. Durant played 75 games last year and Nurkic played 76. I'm not sure you're going to get that from both of them. I know they added Tyus Jones. I personally feel like that's a way less important addition than it got fanfare for. Not saying it's a good addition considering they got him on the fucking minimum. So congrats to them. Like
I don't get that. What the fuck? On the minimum, I don't understand. He's a solid backup point guard.
If he plays himself, if he plays well and they get to the second round or whatever, like he could probably cash in next summer. So I kind of get that, but like whatever, it's not my problem or not my concern. That's a good addition. He's clearly a good player. They need as many good players as they can get because too many times they were playing bad players last year. So I like that addition. I don't like this team. I don't like this roster. They're old. They're unathletic. They do not get easy offense. Their offense last season was very, very heavy mid-range. And I know they have a new coach and everything, but like, and I know it's Budenholzer, who is very, very demanding in terms of this is where we take shots. Not sure he's going to have that success. Kevin Durant has played for a lot of teams, played for a lot of coaches. He has made it very, very clear in his public comments on Twitter, in the press, and whatever. He likes his mid-range jumpers. He likes taking them. And it is not a coincidence that when he went to the Warriors, they started taking more mid-range jumpers because he was taking mid-range jumpers. He is not going to change his shot distribution for anybody. So maybe Booker will buy in. I think Booker will buy in because Booker has shown an adaptability to what's asked of him. I'm not sure Durant will. That concerns me. The Nurkic thing concerns me because he was so healthy last year and they didn't have to worry about how poor their backup center options were. He gets hurt for any extended time this year, which in his history as a player is a likely scenario. That becomes a bigger issue. The Grayson Allen thing, he shot out of his fucking mind last year. Shot amazing last year. Is that actually replicable? And I think he's always been a good shooter, so I think he'll continue to be a good shooter. Is he going to shoot? What did he shoot? Like 47% from three or whatever the fuck it was.
47.5. He was the best shooter in basketball.
Yeah, I would bet that he does not shoot that clip next year. I don't know. I would take the under here, but and the other part, like I just don't like betting. This organization has bad vibes. You've got Ishbia doing God knows what as the owner. Isaiah Thomas is like shadow running the front office. I'm actually with you too in the idea of like when this line first came out, I was like, oh, under heavy, bang it. And now I'm kind of like, I can kind of see it getting right in that 46, 47, 48 mix. So not sure I want to touch it, but like I would take the under. This is not going to be one of my, oh yeah, I love this one type bets though.
Yeah.
Warriors 44.5. The over is plus 100. Got to tell you, I like the over.
All right.
Love the over. Love the over. I'm very happy that Klay Thompson is no longer on this team. He was one of the most destructive players in the league last year. He was one of the most destructive players on their roster last year. He had the worst net swing on off of their main rotation players last year. He had, I think, the second worst on court rating last year after Andrew Wiggins. This is a player who played the majority of his minutes with Steph Curry, mind you. Failing the Steph Curry test is that's one of my favorite. This guy sucks. Litmus tests. And Klay Thompson, you have failed that test. I think the fact that they have guys like Klay Thompson, if he bought into the realities of what his body's capable of in 2023-24, would absolutely be a better player than Buddy Hield. But he doesn't seem to want to believe in any limitations of what he's capable of doing anymore. Buddy Hield will absolutely light it up from three, attack closeouts if possible, and keep it moving. He's not going to do much more than that. He's not going to rock the boat. He's certainly not going to play defense. Why that doesn't concern me is that Klay Thompson wasn't playing much defense nowadays. If DeAnthony Melton is good, if he's healthy, he's a better player than Klay Thompson in 2024-25. That's like not even a question to me. I like them getting Slow-Mo as just a nice little guy that comes in off the bench and does some things. My main concern with this team and my main concern betting this line would be, can Steve Kerr actually figure out and settle on what his fucking best lineups are? Will he correctly identify those things? He had a bad season in terms of that last year. They have a lot of pieces too. They have a lot of guys they need to make decisions on and keep happy to some degree. Kuminga doesn't have an extension. A little concerning. Moses Moody is on this team. He's in a contract year. What the hell is going on there? Because he doesn't even have a clear role on this team or a pathway to one.
The Moody thing's weird because he's played well whenever he's played.
The only thing I can assume is he's like doesn't practice well or something. He's like not a hard. I don't know.
He's played well in ways that coaches usually like because it's his defense that usually shines. Like he's
a good rebounder and he's a good rebounder for his position.
Yeah,
which makes it. Yeah, I don't get the Moody thing at all. He's definitely somebody I think teams should be looking to buy low on. But yeah, I just like I like the smorgasbord of options they added this offseason. I like them getting rid of Steph, or not Steph. God forbid. If they got rid of Steph, I'd be like, this line would be like 19, and I'd be like, hit the under. Trust me. I like them getting rid of Klay quite a bit. I like Trace Jackson Davis. Like I like Pajemski. I like Trace Jackson Davis. I think these guys are pretty solid bets to develop in their career, take another step. Yeah, that's my and also like if Andrew Wiggins can literally just not suck, that would be an improvement and that would help.
For sure. I'm on the under. I agree with everything you said.
Oh, you hate Steph. Great. Right, I forgot.
Yeah, I hate Steph. I have you watched that Peacock show that he's in?
Is it good? Is it good?
It was weird. It's fine. Yeah, he's like the star. Like it's weird. I never would have thought that he would be able to play the character he does, but he's like a caricature of himself, which is like fun to watch. Yeah, it's fun.
Really positive teammate.
Yes, that's what he is actually. Yeah. He's like a very good friend to this guy who doesn't deserve it, and he's like, yeah, it's good. I just don't think they're as good as I think they're a fringe playing team in this Western Conference. And that's not really a judgment on them. I just think the West is really deep and it's really tough. And so some teams got to be the odd team out. And as amazing as I think Steph is, I think Draymond could get a little worse. I think they're eventually going to figure out that they need to be in, okay, what can we get from Kuminga, Trace Jackson Davis, and Podziemski? And like we talked about Moody, I'm not saying go full rebuild. I don't think they'll ever do that until Steph says, until Steph says hey, trade me to where LeBron is so we can play together.
Or if he falls off a cliff.
Right. But yeah, I just think there's so much competition out West. I just don't love them against really too many of these teams. You just go through the litany of teams and it's just like, shit. I like the Nuggets, the Thunder, the Timberwolves, all better. I think they're going to struggle in matchups against the Suns and the Kings and the Lakers, like, split those. And then we haven't even gotten to the last division yet, so it's just tough.
I don't know, Jeff. You got 7 unders here in the West. I'm
Yeah.
5-5. You're 7-3. I don't know. I actually don't like doing over unders that way, even though I know there's a logic to it.
Yeah, I'd be curious to look because it's not like it just perfectly evens out,
Yeah, well, it's like because you can literally, if one team has 8 more wins than anybody expected, that can fuck over multiple teams, and that is why they hit their unders. So yeah, it's not an
Right.
even science. Like you should definitely not do it to be like I want 15 and 15, but you definitely don't want to end up like, oh, I have 20 unders and 10 overs. Like, yeah, you're probably not going to be too successful then, pal.
Yeah. Also, you have 6 and 4. Don't lie. Don't lie to the people, Shwin.
Oh, yeah, I can't count.
Yeah.
Still a better split.
But yeah, I mean, I put Steph in the LeBron. Just enjoy it while you can. I hope they go over. I hope they're in playoff games just to get to see, those big moments in Golden State. I'm also not as down on Clay as I appreciate the net swing data, but I thought he was still a fine offensive player for them last season. I do think the point you made about how maybe the stuff he did bring offensively is more replaceable than it may seem because it was mostly just off-ball gravity, and it's like, okay, Buddy Hield can do that with the terrible defense too. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes, but I do think that Clay was helpful for them. He's still a really good shooter.
Buddy will definitely not do as much of the stupid ISO stuff that Clay was addicted. Oh no, it's me. It's game 6 Clay. I still got it. No, don't. I don't think so.
Yeah.
All right. This is the Southwest division.
That sounds right.
You got the Pelicans. By the way, the Pacific. Anybody betting division winner in that? In that, Godspeed. That's why I didn't even bring it up. That division is going to be fucking insane.
Yeah. Do you remember last year we did that. We our favorite bet was Kings to win the division,
Yeah.
and then all 5 teams were within 3 games of each other, or some bullshit like that. By the way, before we move on, I didn't mention earlier, but you were looking at alternative bets. Diagonal is plus 1,300 to win Coach of the Year. Just all the Thunder have to do is have if they're just gonna give it to him if they're the best team in the league. It's not like the Celtics where it's this established great team and how much does Missoula really have to do? Is he just taking over Ime Udoka's team? No, this is Diagonal's team. This is an upstart team. He's never won the award before. If the Thunder win 60 games, yeah, he's white. If the Thunder win 60 or more games and they're the best team in the league, he's going to win Coach of the Year. So
who won Coach of the Year last year?
Udoka?
Was he
for the Rockets?
Was it? Coach of the Year.
Was it Missoula? That'd be funny if it was Missoula and I was strong. They won way more games than
NBA. No, it was Dagnall. Yeah, he's not going to win again. That's fine.
Damn! He already won last year.
Yeah, you can't go back to back.
I feel like we're in the It's Always Sunny pod. Then cut that. Fuck! I didn't realize he won last year. All right, well,
they already rewarded the white guy. It's fine.
Yeah, he's not winning back to back. Cut that. Don't bet the plus 1,300.
All right, Pelicans 46.5 over under. The over on this is plus 100. They don't have a center. Their center is Yves Missy, who is a rookie and was drafted in the second round.
Daniel Tice.
So they don't have a center. We talked about this briefly before we jumped on here. I do like the idea of them leaning into small ball and all that stuff, and I think that could be very, very effective, and that's cool. I'm not sure that Willie Green is going to be very enthusiastic about that. I think he really hasn't used much Zion at the 5, even though they've had personnel to do that. And I don't like this Ingram situation they've got brewing because they can't really bench him. They can't really do anything with him. He's playing for a contract also, which worries me. Trey Murphy, he hasn't been extended. He might be playing for a contract. That doesn't worry me in the sense of like, because Murphy plays in a way that's very complementary to other players. But I could see him be like, if he's still coming off the bench, right? Let's say the season starts, and this is the problem with their team. Okay, let's say they are committed to playing small, right? Okay, we're gonna play small. Fuck the center. Zion's our starting center, right? Here's the problem. DeJounte Murray starting, right? We 100%.
Yeah, I 100%.
Do you think it's 100% that Ingram starts? I do.
Yes.
Okay. Do you think it's 100% Herb Jones starts?
Yeah, hundreds high, but I think it's likely. Yeah.
Do you think it's 100% that CJ McCollum starts?
No.
See, I think it's 100% CJ McCollum starts because I do not think they have the balls to bench him. They don't have the. I don't think. I think they might bench him in season at some point. It might be like one of these
So you
things
think
where
they're just going to start small?
I don't know what they're gonna do, and this is why I fucking hate. Like, I have no idea what they're gonna do. I hate everything they've like. I despise them doing the DeJounte Murray trade, and then just being like, "All right, cool, we're done." Like, what? Wait, you can't just trade for DeJounte, keep CJ McCollum and Ingram, and that's it. Like, and also not sign a center. Like, I don't know. I don't like the unknowns with this team. I don't like betting on a team where I actually have no fucking idea what their starting lineup is going to be, or what their crunch time lineup is going to be, or what their best five is going to be. Like, I don't know what this team is. I don't know what their roles are for so many players in this team, and that worries me a lot. And I would not bet the over. I would bet the under, and I feel probably pretty decent about it.
Yeah, I would bet the under pretty confidently. I do want to see. I mean, you didn't even mention Trey Murphy.
No,
Like
I did.
Murphy.
I
No,
mentioned him.
I mean like as one of the starters.
Yeah. But
I
that's
think
my
both.
problem. Yeah.
I think both Murphy and Herb Jones should be starting over CJ McCollum. And if they're not even considering that, that's an issue. Yeah, that is kind of worrying. I will say that if they can go like the reason that Herb Jones and Murphy, it's the same thing that I always talk about. These are guys that don't need the ball in their hands. They're good supporting pieces. I think that if they can put Murray or McCollum with Ingram and Zion and then have Murphy and Herb Jones out there, I don't know how that'll go, but I think it'll be super fun to watch. So I just want to see. I feel like Bill Simmons. I just want to see it. Like I just want to see what
Can I
that
see
looks
it?
like. Yeah. I just want to see it. And I think that's their best chance at winning the most games this season because, like you said, they don't have centers. So, like, why are you like just say fuck it? Like, why are you active? Are you really gonna play 48 minutes of Missy and Tice because you need a big guy out there? Just play your best players. Be weird. Be unconventional. And see how it goes. I think that's their best chance, and it's their best chance of keeping everybody happy because on some level McCollum, Murray, Herb Jones, Murphy, Zion, and Ingram, that these guys all respect each other. They see they're like, oh yeah, like they see each other on each other's level, relatively. And if one of them or multiple of them are playing way less than they should because they need a center and second round rookie Missy is playing 25 minutes a game and Daniel Tice is playing 25 minutes a game, that can't be good for locker room morale. So yeah, I think they just have to lean into going small and seeing how that goes.
Yeah. I would love to see Tibbs coach this roster. It'd be hilarious. I think he'd blow a gasket. He'd be like, this really? These are the centers you gave me? Fucking kidding me? I gotta play this fucking beignet eating fucking asshole at center.
Taj Gibson would be on that team in 0.4 seconds.
Just give me Taj. Just give me Taj. Native. All right. Spurs 36.5. Over on this is minus 115. I'm gonna take the under.
Wow.
I'm just gonna do it on principle. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about. I'm just sick and tired of the endless Spurs fellatio. Enough of this franchise. Enough of this team. Honestly, no. It's like I think Harrison Barnes makes sense to add because he just will do stuff that is functional, but he's not a good player anymore. Like he's not going to really help you win more games. Um, Chris Paul helps for sure.
Does all.
I don't know how many games you can actually expect him to play. I don't know how many minutes he can handle, and it worries me a little bit. He's going to be the starting guard, so
But
I
Trey
mean,
Jones is good.
yeah, Trey Jones is definitely good. They have better guard play for sure over 48 minutes. But Pop also like hates Trey Jones. So I
That's
don't know.
weird.
That was very weird last year where he was just like, yeah, it's cool. You're good. Come off the bench. I'm gonna play Jeremy Sohan, starting
Yeah,
point guard.
very weird. But he can all they can almost with Chris Paul like back into turning Trey Jones into 2023 quickly or something. Like do
Yeah,
the thing where it's like, all right, you're gonna come off the bench and hey, by the way, Chris Paul's old, he'll be hurt, and you can start those games, you know?
yeah, yeah. But like, so I think Chris Paul helps. So they're gonna be better. Wemby's obviously really good. I would say that like I think people should pump the brakes a little bit on like the Wemby domination is about to start right now
Mm-hmm.
because I know he closed the season strong. That is like I'm telling you, assuming a guy is going to pick up from exactly where he left off because of the last month of an NBA season is it is so often wrong. It is so often wrong. Um, he played a lot of basketball last year, more than he's ever played before. He also did not get a clean break this summer, right? Because he played the Olympics and he played through as far as you can go in the Olympics. So he's played a lot of basketball in this last year. Aside from Chris Paul and Wembanyama, I am not convinced anybody else in this team is 100% a two-way positive player. And even Chris Paul in his old age is maybe not a guaranteed plus defensively. Um, like Devin Vassell, is this guy ever going to get good on defense? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Will Pop ever coach a functional defense again? Who can say for sure? Wembenyama obviously helps. He makes them a good defense. And I do buy the like defensive player of the year hype with him. Like I don't think that part of his game is hype, by the way. The defense I buy. Like I think that will be effective and elite from day one this season. I think the offense is still a work in progress. I still think this is going to be ups and downs. And when he's what 7'5", wherever the fuck he is, he's still growing into his body. He's still got work to do in terms of filling out and being ready for that physicality over an 82 game schedule and all of that. Like I think the like I think there's the danger of because we know the guy is a franchise guy, we're assuming he is that today. And I don't know that he's that today. I don't know that over an 82 game season, he is a top 10 player to the level of even with this subpar roster, he can get you to 40, 41 wins. That is my concern with them. And that's where I would take the under. I think most people would argue the over, and I don't think that's wrong. I'm just going a little bit against conventional wisdom.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on the under too. I think I think the West is really deep. I think that
And you
Wemby,
love Chris Paul, so that says a lot.
I do love Chris Paul, and I'm higher on Vassell than you are. I would
Yeah.
say I think he's already good. Um, and I think Wemby not only is going to be a lock All Star next year, I think he's going to deservedly be in the All NBA conversation if he stays healthy.
He's going to make it. He's going to make it because he's going to be a plus offensive player and he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year. You have to give him all NBA at that point.
Yeah.
I don't
There's
know
a
if I
very
see a more dead certain defensive, like other than not meeting the games played requirement. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that he wins Defensive Player of the Year. Like I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, he should have won it last year, in my opinion. I was on Gobert when I did the award show for High Hand Theory, and XJ just made such a good case for Wembanyama. I was like, oh yeah, he's right.
Would you tell him that Wemby hasn't earned it yet?
That was part of my argument. That was part of my counter argument. He hasn't earned it.
Like Saving Private Ryan, earn this.
Yeah, I just think that the West is tough. I think they're near the bottom of the West. I think it's in the Spurs' best interest to have another season where they get a lottery pick. You know, like Castle is a nice pick. I think he's going to have some rough minutes. I don't know who their fifth starter is, but if it's Sohan, that's not good for their chances of winning this
They already
season.
moved him to the bench last year, right? So
Who do you think their fifth starter is then?
I mean,
Keldon Johnson?
yeah, get Keldon in there to help
He's
out the tank.
bad. He's rough, man. Yeah, so Chris Paul, like you said, won't play. It's unlikely he'll play a whole season, but who knows what kind of magic they have going on in San Antonio. Look, I'm not saying it's like a lock under. I think it's close. I could see plenty of outcomes where they go over. I think Wemby could push them into fringe, play-in conversation. But yeah, I just think more of the time they're going to go under, and Spurs fans are going to be like, okay, we're going to have a nice lottery pick again. Next year is the year that we really start taking it seriously.
They also have they still have just a lot of bad rookie contract guys that they're going to play. Like Sohan is there, Malachi Branham. They drafted Castle. Like they have a bunch of these guys that are still like Zach Collins is going to play even though he's fucking awful. Like they've just got so many guys who are going to play and are bad. And it's like a challenge to Wemby. Like if you can take Zach Collins to the playoffs, you will make all NBA. There you go. No, I just the under to me is, and I think it was on Windhorse Pod where they were like talking about over unders and they were just like all like, yeah, fucking 41 wins for the Spurs. I was like, all right, let's pump the brakes a little bit, but like relax. Chris Paul, like the thing is, yeah, if I knew Chris Paul was going to give 2,200 minutes, I'd pick the over. I'd be like, oh yeah, he's going to, okay, that's starter minutes. Awesome. I don't know that Chris Paul is going to give me 2,200 minutes. And that is, it's a problem. Like last year, he played, what's the total here? 1 second. He played a total of 1,531 minutes. The year before that, 1,889 minutes. He hasn't actually played 2,200 minutes since 2019-20. Although in 2020-2021, he played 2,199 minutes. And the year after, he played 2,139 minutes. But like, he's not even sniffed 2,000, right? In a couple of years here. It's not trending the right way. That worries me. Under is my play on this one. Okay. Rockets, 43.5 minus 115. I think I like the over on this, but I don't feel strongly about this.
You won't believe it. I am gonna go under. I like a lot of players on their team. I do. I still think they're in that weird tweener mode. And I like Udoka a lot.
Yeah.
I think they're headed in the right direction. I think that Van Vliet and Brooks have done the almost Tibbs thing, the player version of the Tibbs thing, where like they've helped them immediately turn them from a joke to a team that's immediately respectable, is going to do the right things on the court, is going to try hard. I like the culture that they've infused. Yeah, I just think this is another team that's going to struggle more nights in the West than isn't,
West,
and I think it's hard for that to get to above 500. I really like Jabari Smith Jr. I really like Şengün. I don't like Jalen Green. I think that I don't know what they're going to do with their guards because I think Van Vliet's crazy. He always plays a ton of minutes. I think they're going to have to play Reed Shepherd. And Reed Shepherd is not only a good player, probably going to be a good player right away, but he's going to be really nice next to Van Vliet, who is probably one of the most underrated defenders in the league. I don't think people know how good Van Vliet is as a defender. I don't think they know how good he is at sizing up and guarding, like bigger guards and sometimes even wings. He's a really, really good defender, both on and off the ball. And I think that that's who you want Reed Shepherd, who's probably going to struggle a little bit defensively from the get-go, but I think there is some defensive potential there. If you look at like the steal and block rates he had in college, I think that there is a defensive ceiling there that might surprise some people because of, well, he's white. But I think he's going to struggle early on defensively, so I think you want him next to someone like Van Vliet. I don't know what that means for Jalen Green. He ended last season whatever. He had that month stretch where he was good, but was he? I don't know. Jalen Green just seems like one of those guys who, whatever percent you think he is to pop, he needs to like be a part of a rebuild where he can be the guy, unequivocally the guy to pop. And he's just not going to be that in Houston anymore. Like, this is Van Vliet's team. This is like that now. Reed Shepard is probably where Jalen Green is on the totem pole. And unless Jalen Green can embrace some of those more supporting characteristics, which I don't think there's hope that he'll do, I don't know what his place is on this team and what it is in the pecking order. And look, Udoka has shown that he doesn't give a shit where you were drafted. If you're not helping him, he's going to play somebody else. Yeah.
By the way, I can't believe this shattering news dropped while we're recording. Lakers say Christian Wood underwent surgery on his left knee and will be reevaluated in 8 weeks. Wow. Maybe hammer the over now. No, the Rockets, I like Udoka. I think Jabari Smith Jr. is I still don't know why he went to the NBA Finals and asked Jason Tatum what he would tell a player like himself who has disappointed in the NBA through 2 years. Like, it just felt like really unnecessarily self-critical. But I mean, I think that's kind of a good thing in some ways. And so I think he's on track. I think he's going to take a big leap this year, actually. And then if he takes a big leap, man, I'm just saying, like, I really like him next to Şengün. I think those guys complement each other beautifully on both ends of the floor. Jabari Smith is the type of defender and potentially can scale to the level of defender required to cover up Şengün's worst kind of traits defensively. And then Şengün is just such a spectacular offensive hub, in my opinion. I think he's fantastic. He's so good. I was really, really down on him prior to last season because I was just like, the defense is hopeless. But I don't feel that way. I think the defense really, you put him in a competent infrastructure last year. And I'm not saying the guy's, he's not Bam or something, but he competed. And I think you at least saw the outline of like, okay, with this guy, at least in the regular season, you can be like a pretty functional and effective defensive unit. That means something. That is really, that matters a lot. They didn't add a ton here in the offseason, but I like the Reed Shepard pick up a lot. I think he's perfect. And I think he's perfect to have as like an understudy for a year for Van Vliet. I don't know. My gut is that Van Vliet plays the year out with them, and then they pick up his option and use him in trade next summer. I don't think he goes anywhere this season just because I don't think there'll be a trade available in season that they want to pull the trigger on. Dylan Brooks is the guy to keep an eye on. You mentioned him. I feel like his role should be getting reduced this season. How will he react to that? Does that cause problems internally? If that does, that is honestly my biggest concern for the under. Because other than that, like you mentioned, I like a lot of the players in this team. They're young. They're all in that like kind of age curve of it's very, very likely these guys are going to be improving and getting better. They got nothing out of Tari last year because of a lot of injuries. And he's a good player. He's an effective player. The metrics love him. And I know he has some brain dead, brain fart moments. Don't let that detract from the majority of the sample is telling you that he's a very, very effective player when he's on the court. So
there was this moment last year, like really early on, Houston was playing the Lakers in LA, and a fight broke out, like on the court, or like a scuffle broke out after a Tari Eason technical foul or something like that. Eason was the one on the receiving end, by the way. And so there was this scuffle around the 3-point line, and Eason took the time when the scuffle was happening to like sneak to the free throw line, and he's like, "Yeah, these are my free throws." And Van Vliet just like shooed him off the line, and like Tari Eason tried arguing his case, like, "Oh man, I was fouled." And Fred just like shot him this look like, "Dude, we're not doing that shit anymore. Like, no, like this isn't happening." And it was so funny and like emblematic of, yeah, this is just a better place than it was 2 years ago, and it shows the importance of a guy like Udoka bring and guys like Van Vliet, Dylan Brooks. These are things that I would have underrated honestly before Tom Thibodeau came to the Knicks. So like this is stuff that just matters. And I think Houston's in the right direction. I just don't see them winning, 44 plus games.
Yeah.
But that's we didn't even mention, or I think you said his name, but Amen Thompson.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised if he has a nice second season. Of course, how high he can fly is dependent on his shooting. But like all the non-shooting stuff, defense, connective passing, his athleticism, he does all that stuff really well. So like he's another interesting piece for them. They have a number of interesting pieces, a number of guys who fit together well. I could very well be wrong here, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. We will do Memphis here, the penultimate team here. 47.5 total. The over on this is minus 110, so evenly balanced, as all things should be. I'm over on this. I'm over on this. I couldn't be more fucking bullish on a team. This is probably my favorite bet on the entire board. I love this. That's it. That's my argument. Is like they're healthy. I know Gigi Jackson got hurt. I don't think that matters too much to this. If they're healthy and Ja has his head screwed on, they're gonna fucking crush this. And I think they're a sneaky decent bet for the number 2 seed in the West.
We agree. I very high on this. This is one of my favorite lines, way over. Love Memphis this year.
By the way, Memphis is over. This fucking line is insane. Over for their seeding, the line is at over 6.5. That's minus 120. I would fucking hammer that and not even think about it.
Yeah, I mean, they had a weird. So you look at last season with all the drama, everything, and I would argue that a number of things actually went well. And what I mean by that is, let's just say you agree that they weren't going to win a championship last year. What would you have wanted from a season where Ja Morant was going to do the crazy shit that he did and not be able to play? You would have wanted them to establish a number of young supporting pieces who were going to matter when Ja Morant came back. And Vince Williams and Gigi Jackson did that. Scottie Pippen Jr. to a lesser degree. He's going to be able to come off the bench. They're replacing Derrick Rose's minutes with Scottie Pippen Jr. minutes, which he's a good defender, and he's going to be a fine bench guard, in my opinion, if he plays. They have a really, really good synergistic starting four with Morant, Smart, Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr. That's a four. Like, look, Smart, some people like him. Some people don't like him as much. Smart is not the guy that you want creating offense for you. That's not ever going to be who he is. When Ja Morant is running a heavy load of 1-5 pick and rolls, he's doing a ton of the burden creating. Bane and Smart are guys you want on the wings. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a guy that you want as a pick and pop. He's improving as a player. Obviously, we know what he can do on defense. Edey, if Edey's gonna be good, he's gonna be good right away. Like that's it. Like if he sucks, he's gonna suck. But if he's gonna be
within like the first 10 games,
right? If he's gonna be able to play in the NBA, but like he has this.
By the way, I think I'm like very high on Edey.
I'm not very high on him, but I am like I think he'll
for them very specifically.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like their team. I like their depth, and I think
Clark's back too, which I think is fucking. I think that's really underrated.
What's that?
Clark being back is a big.
Yes, Brandon Clark being back matters. He was hurt all of last season. I think they have Kennard back, who's a good.
Yeah, he can shoot. I mean, he's a regular season. Like he can play in the regular season.
Yeah, so they have plenty of depth. They have plenty of playable players if they stay healthy. If Ja comes back with a vengeance, I think they're going over. I think this is a slam dunk bet.
Ja MVP is one of my favorite bets, by the way.
What's the price?
I'll look it up in a second. But the number 2 seed here, I like this bet. I'll bet Memphis Grizzlies to finish as the 2 seed plus 1,300.
Wow.
I like that a lot. They're even with the Suns, and I think there's, I'm sorry, like if Memphis is healthy, they're gonna fucking blow the Suns out of the water. Like that's a joke to me.
Ja MVP is plus 3,000.
Yeah, it's the best one, man. That's the best odds on the board.
So I just random aside, we can take a few minutes. What is it? Just a team based thing? Because I think even as much as you're down on him, I think you'd agree that Halliburton has shown he's better than Ja Morant, right? Or do you not agree with that?
I think there's stuff in the end game that matters as far as MVP voting goes that Halliburton will never have that Ja does. Like he has that fucking eye of the tiger, gonna take over in the fourth quarter, drive to the rim. He has these like memorable end game moments. Halliburton doesn't really have that. Like it's not that. I mean, whatever I think about Halliburton, it is perfectly effective to like do a jump pass to set up a fucking open three with a minute left in a game. But like people aren't gonna remember that in a way that like, oh, Ja drove into 15 defenders and like threw up some bullshit, but then was able to get a quick second jump and then like put it back for the game winner. Like those are things that stick in voters' heads. And I think he's got a way better narrative. Like he
Yeah.
the whole comeback story arc is right there for him. It's all there for him. Like that is the MVP is a narrative based award. Like Halliburton's narrative would be what? Like
Well, if the
Indiana.
Pacers were really good.
Well, they're really, even if they're really good, I don't think he personally has like a fun arc that like everybody's gonna get behind. Ja has an arc that like this is like the ultimate American arc that everybody
Yeah.
loves. Like
The comeback story.
hero ascends and we all are, he's getting all kinds of love and praise. Then he reveals that he's this flawed character and now he's a villain and he goes through this season of bullshit and he's, the last man on the totem pole. And now all of a sudden it's like he's got the whole and the team sucks, so we all forget about them. Now he's back. Like look, the line says 47.5. Honestly, I think they probably win like 55 games this year if they're healthy. Like, and if they blow their fucking expectations on the water, whether it's not just going to be because of Ja, but he will be the driving force behind it, or at least will be identified as the driving force
From a
behind it.
narrative
Yeah,
perspective.
and he will get all of that credit. And again, like he's just got that. People forget, like before all of his kind of off-court transgressions were building, this is a guy who was like universally praised and loved by NBA media. That is really, really important to this award. It's really, really important to this award. I think those people are still waiting. They're just dying to jump back on the bandwagon. And I think it's going to give them a good reason to do it this year.
It's a good explanation to me.
All right. Last one, Mavericks, 49.5. I'm going to let you go first since I think you have a lot of thoughts on this team.
I'm under. I'm under. I think they're going to be better than last season. And I think I'm the only person in the world who thinks they're going to be better than last season and thinks they're going to have less success. But more than anything, I think they're very representative about how we react to the variance and swings of small sample sizes, because I think it is inarguable in a vacuum that the Mavericks made improvements when they went from, guys like Derek Jones and Josh Green to now guys like Klay Thompson and Najee Marshall and Quentin Grimes. I think that they upgraded their personnel. I think they are a better team. I think they have better supporting pieces around their two most important players. I think Derek Lively is a year older, and I think Lively is kind of underrated almost, even though apparently like 6% of NBA fans or 10% of NBA fans think he's better than Rudy Gobert, which is crazy. But like putting those people aside, I think the rest of the world doesn't realize how good Derek Lively was last season and how impressive it is that he was as good as he was as a rookie. I think he can improve. I think he can become an even bigger backbone to that defense, which is necessary, especially for a Jason Kidd coach team. I want to get that out of the way and say that I think they're going to be a better overall team. But when you run as hot as they did in the playoffs, you kind of build this reputation of, oh, well, this is a finals team. So they went to the finals and they got better, but it doesn't really work like that, because the guys like Klay Thompson, guys like Quentin Grimes and Najee Marshall, even though I think they're better than Derek Jones Jr. and Josh Green, they're not replacing Josh Green and Derek Jones Jr., at least not in the playoffs. They're replacing guys who shot like 50+% from three and were just absolutely amazing in those small sample sizes. And I think that's going to be really hard to replace. I think that this line 49.5 is basically based on the idea that this team that just made it to the finals got better and is going to be able to easily replace the production they got last season. I'm a little bit more skeptical. it just wouldn't surprise me to see them in like the 45 to 48 win range. I think 49.5 is too high.
Yep. I don't have a strong feeling on this one. I would probably bet the over, but like Kyrie had a really healthy year, relatively speaking, last year. He also had a very put together year, we can call it, last year, which is not always the case for him. Derek Lively is a really interesting young player, really good young player. He was really good last year, which is always a good sign for a rookie. I don't know that he's fully yet ready to be the center, the level of center he is going to become one day, especially over the full 82 game season. I personally did not like. I think the Clay move is awful for them. I think it's really, really bad. It puts their starting lineup in a very interesting place. The contract he got indicates to me he will be a starter. And I'm sorry, I do not like Kyrie, Clay, Luka defensively at all as a starting lineup. I don't give a fuck who your starting 4 and 5 are. That is a problem. I like Najee Marshall fine. I don't know when Najee Marshall became fucking the second coming. I think the conversation around how good he is has been ridiculous to listen to throughout this offseason. To me, him and Derrick Jones Jr. are similar players. And I would argue that Derrick Jones Jr., his ability as an ISO defender, is a higher individual elite skill than anything that Najee Marshall brings to the table. And Najee Marshall might be more well-rounded, but having that one elite skill does matter. I like them getting Quentin Grimes. I think that's one of the best buy low type trades or acquisitions this offseason. I don't know that they'll be able to maximize getting him because they brought back Klay Thompson. Jaden Hardy doesn't matter on this team. The better he's off it, or the sooner he's off it, the better. They also got they got really hot after the trade last year. PJ Washington got insanely hot in the playoffs from 3, just shot out of his fucking mind. That's not replicable. And I think to your point, that is speaking to the bias of oh my god, this team made the finals, so they must be a 55 win team or something this upcoming season. Not sure that's true. I'm still betting the over because I think if you get enough out of Luka, I think they've done a better job of building out the roster around him. That even if Kyrie has more of a down year, and even if Derek Lively doesn't take the step that I think a lot of people are projecting for him, that they're still just going to be so good on offense and have such a high floor that they get there. But like I said, I probably wouldn't touch this one.
Yeah, I think they're going to be a very interesting team. That's what I'll say. And again, another team, man, the NBA is going to be so great next year. Like, can it just fucking start already? I mean, it's just every team is just has their own interesting dynamic and storylines. And the league is so smart and talented these days that it's really hard, at least early on, to find a team that I'm not looking forward to watching. And the Mavericks are just another one. I mean, we just disagree on the Clay stuff. Maybe you'll end up being right. I think he might end up actually being rejuvenated by a new situation and a desire to prove himself. I think that there's
But I'm worried about him wanting to prove himself.
That's fair, but I do think that you mesh that his desire to prove himself with he's playing with Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. He might be higher on himself than he should be. And he might have that desire to prove himself, but I don't think he's delusional to the point where he's like, "Hey, Luka, it's my turn." He knows.
I'm just worried about you went from a system where you're touching the ball all the time, even if you're not the focal point, to stand over there. Wait, that's your because when
maybe he'll bring some of what they did in Golden State to Dallas. It doesn't have to be 100-0.
When Luka wants to buy into something like that, I will certainly be
well,
there.
No, Luka's not going to move, but Clay could maybe be like, "Hey, here's some off-ball stuff I could do."
Yep, I will be waiting with bated breath to see that. What is it? The an immovable object meets an unstoppable force. We'll see what happens there. By the way,
the Tobias Funke, but it might work. It might work for us,
Yeah. Before we get out of here, we did have NFL Sunday last week. I can't believe this hasn't gotten more fanfare. But did you tune in to the huge revenge game yesterday?
Revenge game.
Yeah, in Atlanta.
Oh, okay. The Arthur Smith. Oh my
The
god.
Arthur-
Of course. Of course. Oh my god. That's so funny. You were waiting for that. I had no idea you were gonna bring that up. That fucking guy, man. Holy shit.
The funniest thing, I was watching the highlights of that last night. You know who he featured heavily in the first half of that game? You know who Pittsburgh featured heavily?
Oh, Cordero Patterson.
No, Ray McLeod.
Wait, who's Cordero Patterson on? I was.
I think he might
He's
still be
on
on
a.
the. Is he not on the Falcons anymore?
No, he's on a team where he was getting carries, and I was like, why the fuck is he getting carries right now? And it reminded me of that. But yes, I did see the Ray Clouds stuff. I have to find what team he's on now. He is on. Yeah, he's on the Steelers. Yeah. And he was getting carries, and I was like, okay, I know Najee Harris and Jalen Warren aren't like super good, but it was almost like Arthur Smith was like, yeah, see, I can make this work here. I can give it to the third string running back.
Yeah.
Fucking guy, man. But maybe he was right, dude. The Falcons look terrible again.
Yeah, maybe he was right to just be like, you know what, Pitts, London, Bijan, you guys are great, but let me feed Jonnu Smith here.
Is there something off with Kyle Pitts? Did you see his touchdown?
Yeah, I saw his touchdown.
He was wide open the whole time, and Kirk was like, "Fine, I'll throw it to you." You know, he's like he was like the eighth read in that play. And it's like, shit, man, what did this guy ever do?
Kirk looked rough. I'm not sure that Achilles is gonna be all the way back for a while.
Yeah, Penix is gonna become the guy soon.
What a good pick that was. Just smart, really good roster building from Atlanta. All right, Jeff, anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
Yeah, I've got some stuff that I'm about to send in for Strickland writing stuff. If you guys like reading, something on Julius Randle and Tom Thibodeau, and then something on Mikal Bridges. So next couple weeks, that stuff should come out. As Shwin very graciously mentioned at the top, I'm the co-host of Hot Hand Theory, which is just an NBA pod that mixes data and film, and we just kind of try to cover the NBA from me and XJ's sort of. It sounds pompous to say unique, but just a different way of covering the NBA. We like it. We think we do a good job. We had a couple of shorter mini episodes come out the last few weeks where we kind of hopped around the NBA. We talked about Tyrese Maxey, LaMelo Ball. So yeah, if you're looking for just like a change of pace discussion about the NBA, we do a lot of Knicks talk over there. Check us out, please.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. I'm nothing to plug myself, so I will plug all the work at Strickland. Look out for Jeff's article. That should be coming out soon. Aside from that, thank you to our sponsor, BetOnline. Thank you to everybody for listening. I hope everybody enjoys their week. Good luck to Jets fans. When you're listening to this, your game will have already concluded the previous night. So hopefully this message reaches you in a good mood. All right. That is our pod for today. Again, hope everybody has a great week, and I will see you on Friday. Peace.